On in. So, Miss Ross,
Yes.
nice to see you again.
Nice seeing you.
Yeah, it was exciting to actually come into your classroom and see all of the wonderful things you have going on toward the end of the school year.
Thank you.
I enjoy coming in and seeing your students seated in a circle, and you guys were all having this sort of Socratic seminar where everybody was getting a chance to actually express their thoughts about the reading. How did that make you feel seeing your students so engaged?
I think it was very exciting because we worked on that all year. We've been practicing, accountable talk. And so we've been talking about agreeing, disagreeing, and one person talking at a time. So it's great to see them just progress throughout the school year. I'm excited.
Cool deal. So I would agree. I want to show you this video. And I want to just dive into like just basically a little bit of feedback. So I'm gonna go ahead and start it right here. And you go on ahead and watch for me, please. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop it right here.
Okay.
So as your students are seated in the circle for the sort of Socratic seminar, you guys call it what was it again?
We just use accountable talk.
Accountable talk. So as you guys were engaged in accountable talk, what did you notice between Justin and Zakai?
Justin was doing all the talking.
Yeah. So Justin was doing a little bit too much of the talking, and he kind of tuned Zakai out when Zakai actually did have something to say. That's one thing. Another thing that I noticed was that I felt as if you were doing a little bit of the heavy lifting as well, as opposed to putting the majority of the heavy lifting on your students. So what I wanted to go over with you today was some question stems.
Okay.
So what do you do when the conversation runs dry? And I feel like out of wanting to see the conversation continue to go, sometimes we as teachers, we tend to do the heavy lifting. We tend to ask the questions and then turn right back around and answer our own questions and things of that nature. So I'm gonna go over some question stems with you today as far as like, what do we do when the conversation hits a standstill? So if you don't mind, I'm gonna grab this. And thinking back to the situation with Justin and Zakai, I want you to take a look at this list, because even between the conversation with Justin and Zakai, there was a time where the conversation ran a little bit dry, and I noticed that you popped in and you kind of like you attempted to usher them along, but you asked them a question and then you turned right back around and you answered it yourself. So which one of those stems would have helped?
I think I could have asked like this question about those are some reasons this would work. What reasons might it not work? Because Justin tends to always give the correct answer most of the time, and so I can ask him for what reasons didn't work, which could help push his thinking and not let me just say okay, great, and summarize what he said. Step in. I can ask like what would that still happen if, and give them a counter example, so he can think about something different. So it'll push me back and just help him to keep going.
So what do you notice that all of those question stems possibly have in common?
It's allowing the student to think of another viewpoint.
Exactly. To allow them to think of another viewpoint, and it allows them the opportunity to think beyond a certain box that they tend to confine themselves to. So with that being said, you are going to have another Socratic seminar when?
Tomorrow at my 12:50 lesson.
Okay, I can't make that.
Okay.
But what I can make is your lesson on Monday. How's that sound?
Okay.
Awesome. So I'm gonna come and I'm gonna be looking for the use of the question stems and just basically seeing how the conversation is being ushered along, and basically on the lookout for whether or not you're doing the heavy lifting or the students, right? So let's practice one scenario before we actually leave. let's say that myself and Dalen Porter were having a conversation, right? So ask a question.
Okay. How does Malika feel about being teased at school?
I'm not quite sure how Malika feels about being teased at school. She seems to not respond to people when they say unkind things about her.
So, what do you think would happen if someone called her ugly?
I think Malika would probably do like she always does and ignore them and not say anything.
And why do you think she ignores them?
Maybe it's what she's been taught to do, to ignore people.
And so, because she ignores people, how do you think she feels about being teased?
Well, nobody likes being teased. So even though she ignores people, I think that I could come to the conclusion that she does not like to be teased or picked on.
And so, she probably feels like what kind of feeling?
She probably feels sad. She probably feels alone. She probably feels like an outsider.
Very
Right.
good. Okay.
All right, good. So that actually worked. Yeah, I think you're off on the right path to using some of these question stems for your Socratic seminar, and I look forward to coming to class and seeing you.
Thank you, Mr. Locke.
No problem.